Sean Diddy Combs had a pretrial hearing yesterday, and one eyewitness was shocked at his new appearance. Also, Jay-Z is worried about evidence destruction. We have an update for you. Welcome to Popcorn Planet's Diddygate coverage. I am Andy Signore. We have two updates I wanted to go through with you. First up, let's talk about Jay-Z before we get to the Diddy hearing. Jay-Z is worried about potential evidence destruction in his case with the Jane Doe. Alex Spiro, as we've been reporting on, is at war with Tony Buzbee, and now these lawyers are clashing. It's getting very fiery, and we're going to talk more about it today during our live at 4 p.m., along with some other updates. But let's get to the main topic, which is this: the fact that Spiro's team has now filed this to the judge, saying the fundamental inconsistencies in plaintiff's case revealed in the NBC interview, coupled with Buzbee's chronic inability to follow the rules in this case and others, creates a substantial risk that Buzbee will destroy evidence damaging the plaintiff's case, including evidence of his own misconduct, impairing the integrity of the judicial process. An order immediately mandating the reservation of all evidence relevant to this case is necessary to ensure that Mr. Carter has a full and fair opportunity to present his defense against plaintiff's fictitious claims. That Buzbee is not admitted to this court, and thus is apparently attempting to avoid its disciplinary authority, only underscores the pressing need for such an order. For the same reasons, all of plaintiff's allegations about Mr. Carter are scandalous, on warning striking them from FAC. Now, look, this is a strong letter and opinion, but it also is just a brilliant move, because, look, this is pretty standard from what I know, and they're obviously yelling this louder, which is typically, all of this should be protected. Everything's supposed to be protected, but now requesting a special order shines a spotlight on sort of Buzbee's credibility in this case in general. And that's what both attorneys are currently trying to do. Buzbee's suing himself, saying that Spiro's team are out there sort of trying to pay off his clientele to speak badly about him. And honestly, I don't know who to believe anymore. But what I do see is not a lot of good evidence. And these inconsistencies from the Jane Doe are not helping at all. The fact that Buzbee wasn't able to properly vet them is troubling. And now Buzbee's made a response with his lawsuit, but none of it it really addresses that core issue, which is problematic. That's the biggest problem here in this fight. Both are throwing a lot of, accusations each other. Who cares? They're both lawyers. It's about whether Jane Doe is telling the truth, whether Jay-Z is guilty, and that's going to come through the evidence, right? Due process. That's what's key. Jay-Z and even Diddy, they're all innocent until proven guilty. A lot of you get annoyed when I say that, but I'm going to always repeat it because we got to be fair and neutral here. Yeah, we can have our opinions about this man. I'm not a huge Jay-Z fan based on other things, as I've discussed. But regarding this case, Spiro is still doing a damn good job. And Buzbee's lawsuit back because of a tape where one investigator said they paid somebody. It doesn't mean they're working with Spiro for sure. I need to see some more proof. And sure, Spiro could be guilty of shenanigans. I have no doubt. Both lawyers here are being sneaky. But I need Buzbee to address the Jane Doe inconsistencies. A lie detector test is not going to cut it, in my opinion. I'm curious what you guys think. Meanwhile, Diddy did face a pretrial hearing yesterday. And they say he appeared astonishingly thinner. Here's a clip from Elizabeth, who was there from Law and Crime and spoke about seeing Diddy in the courtroom.
He appeared just astonishingly thinner, which you can expect to be inside a federal detention center for a couple months now. A lot different from the luxury lifestyle that he was living before, but he appeared very noticeably thinner, and maybe being locked up in detention is starting to wear on him. He appeared grayer a little bit as well too, but again, he appeared just like how you would expect Diddy to appear for a hearing. He when he came inside the courtroom, he hugged his attorneys. He especially hugged Anthony Rico. Then he had hugged Alexandra Shapiro as well too, but then he kept kind of looking at the gallery. Now again, this was at a point where Diddy's sons Justin and Christian weren't inside the courtroom just yet, but instead, whenever they came inside the courtroom, and again, this was after Diddy was already sitting down at the defense table, he looked back immediately, he smiled, he beamed up, he waved at at his two sons, and just kind of gave them like kind of a little bit of it's a good to see you type of feeling. That's what I was gathering from inside that courtroom. Now again, I I want to remind our viewers that when we're inside federal court, again, there's no cameras, which, Jesse, I'm sure you have already mentioned that part. But, even for us journalists, with the exception of some who get a special permission of that, we just are relying on a notebook, a notepad, a pen, a pencil in order to kind of take notes to see what is all going on. I can't even take my Apple Watch inside that courtroom whenever there's a hearing. I have to turn that in. I have to turn my laptop in. Of course, I have to turn my phone in. So we're kind of just eye-watching everything that's going on. Now, when Christian and Justin came inside that courtroom, they were actually sitting just right across from me over on the left side of the gallery. So what I was seeing from both of his sons was a little bit of leg shaking, what I perceived to be a little prayer right before the hearing had actually started as well too. But again, I think their focus was maintaining a good face for their father, being supportive of their father, which you expect at this point because they've attended pretty much all of the hearings so far, with the exception of that emergency hearing that happened, I believe, back in October now. But then they kind of just stood and sat and just kind of listened to what was all kind of happening. Again, that court hearing was pretty quick. It was about 30 minutes long. I think all of us were kind of surprised that the hearing did last that short amount of time as opposed to last hearing, which was about 2 hours or so. But, as our viewers kind of want to get an inside glimpse of what you see at a federal courtroom, you're going to see the defense table and then you're going to see the prosecution table right in front. So it's not like how we see in normal trials where it's like right across from each other. It's like the defense, it is the prosecution, and then of course you're going to have the judge on the bench, and you're going to have the court sketch artist and the person who is kind of transcribing all of what is going on. But that is pretty much the inside glimpse of what I got from inside that courthouse.
It is interesting to get that insight. We're trying to get some insight as well. Interesting how these live tweets go if you can't get the phone in. We're working on it. We want to get you more, especially as we get closer to the trial. But the best we can do is, thankfully for Inner City Press's tweets, this is what happened. They brought him in, bring out the defendant. He came out. Judge, good afternoon. Good afternoon. How are you doing? Great. What can we take care of? We'll produce all discovery by end of year, is what they're saying. So everything regarding the case is supposed to be produced to Combs by end of year. Our investigation is ongoing, they keep reminding. Can you tell me how you are complying with the Brady obligations? We are endeavoring to get them the information they were requesting, including interrogations we conducted. We've given files from victim one. What can you tell me about your ongoing investigation? Any superseding indictments? I can't say much. We're mindful of the trial date, and any additional charges will have little discovery information. So they are clearly trying to move the best and saying, look, these other charges, if we have them, aren't going to be some brand new crazy big thing that requires a bunch of other new witnesses and evidence. It's going to be the same similar type of evidence, but an additional charge, which is interesting. Diddy's lawyer then stepped up. The pattern of racketeer activities is very vague. They allege multiple acts of arson, kidnapping, but what events? We anticipate a motion for a bill of particulars coming to the court. Combs' lawyer, if what happened in Mr. Combs' bedroom was found to be entirely personal, we'd view that as subject to Brady. Judge, should I deny without prejudice the request made, understanding that the government will engage in a dialogue with you? We prefer you keep the motion open. We plan to expand it, asking for more specifics. Based on what I've heard, there's going to be a dialogue. I'm willing to leave the motion open as long as you know I am not ignoring it. Judge making a clear point of, like, you don't get to complain about this later. You asked for it, so now I'm keeping it there. This is what's happening. Any other discovery issues? No. All right. Schedule by January 3rd. Provide the court with any update on the motion schedule. Court's goal is to avoid any kind of surprise at the last minute. Let's meet March 17th. So that's a while from now and only a couple months from the May start date. So there it is. Adjourned. It was a quick one. Again, I go back to spotlight this. Whatever happened in the bedroom was found to be entirely personal. That's clearly a debate that's already argument that's going to be made by Diddy. This was all consensual and personal use in bedroom, and you don't know what was actually going on and whatever. And that's what they're going to try to claim, and then clearly try to keep some of that private, confidential, etc. So a little bit of a glimpse there. Not much else was revealed here, but that, yes, a future indictment could still happen, but doesn't seem like it's going to be something massive that requires a bunch of new witness and testimony and evidence. It would be similar to the ones that have already been provided, because you got to remember, they have a court date of May. Will they hit that date? I would be surprised, but Diddy may not let them delay it. In fact, Diddy has a right to a speedy trial, and he wants to get out of jail as fast as possible. While his team needs to prepare a defense, I think they also want to sprint to that date, so the federal government doesn't have as much time either. So we're now running on a timeline that we may actually try to rush and get this to May, in which case the government will try to delay it, if anything. Who knows? We'll keep you updated as all these updates come. And like I said, we'll be live today at 4 p.m. We got a lot more coming for you, so make sure you subscribe, hit the bell for alerts, and that leave your comments, and stay tuned. Join us later today. We got a lot more coming your way. Thanks so much for watching here on Popcorn Planet.